G'day peeps, Monday morning and we are at Bendelby Ranges, and I've left this out of all my other vlogs up till now, but I have been having some electrical issues with my off-grid system. I'll run you through the system, I'll tell you the big thing that I did wrong, and then really it's a process of all the little things I've added to my car and van which I've done wrong that brought me to the position I am now. This is where we're at. We're going to have a look at my DCS batteries. I've got 200 amp hours in the caravan, and this is reporting one of them, and that's on 10%. And I've been chasing my tail, getting that right, or getting that charge into the battery for some time. While we're here, I'll just show you what my 80's doing here. That's in the car, and that's on about 55%, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a sec. All right, to elaborate on the electrical system we're running here, it's a single DCS 80, just one. There's no dual batteries, anything like that. I've just been running off the one DCS 80 Extreme start battery and lithium, and yes, it's under the bonnet. Next, this is connected to Unilugs to a battery Projecta. This is my first problem because it's not working. As we go through, their power's running through the car, gets to the back of the car, and I've got various bits and pieces, but running a 50 litre freezer, and behind here there's a 30 litre drawer fridge as well. They're permanently running. Travel buddy, charging sockets, lots of Andersons for charging, and all my sort of other gear. You can't see it, but there's all sorts of solar controllers, fuses, relays, ARB compressor. That's all underneath the false floor there, just to show you the full gamut. We're running a 330 watt 48 volt panel on the roof, and you'll see it's connected by Anderson here. I'll talk about that more in a sec. And just for giggles, this is the drawer fridge I'm running, and exterior lights. We've got the Safari lights up here, which puts light up here. In the caravan, it's all under the bed. Sharon will kill me if I show you inside the caravan because she hasn't cleaned it up yet. But we're running 100 amp hour lithium with a Projecta charger, like solar controller charger, like DC, which I was running in my old Patrol. Took the AGMs out, put that in. Had a DCS 100 laying around, spare from the old containers that I had hooked up, and so I just put that in parallel. So I've got 200 amp hours, but they are different brands. The charging voltages sort of seem similar, but that's probably my second mistake. I don't think I should have linked an older lithium battery to a new DCS 100 because I think the BMSs are conflicting. Let's talk about the event which happened, because everything was humming along nicely. Car was, sitting, 80, 100%. The caravan was sitting about between 75, 85%, depending on what we're doing. And we're running a 2 kilowatt Phoenix Victron inverter, and that pretty much goes on, stays on all the time. And I just don't even think about power anymore. It's just on permanently. The fridge runs off of it. When we're traveling, I don't even bother switching it over to 12 volt. You can charge your phone. You can use the whole van as if it's on, permanent power all the time. And those 200 amp hour lithiums were running perfectly. So good to the point that we thought, let's test it. What are the limits? I know it runs the aircon. It'll even run the hot water service if you accidentally forget to turn it off. But Sharon wanted to boil the kettle before we went on a trip and make a coffee for the trip. And so I thought, all right, I could do it with gas, but I'd already turned the gas off. I went, hey, let's test out the inverter on the battery system we've got. Filled the kettle up, switched it on. Straight away you hear the fans cut in of the inverter, so it's working. And Victron stuff is great. I love the Victron stuff because it all has apps, and DCS But so I was looking at the app for the Victron inverter, and it straight away went up to like 2.4 kilowatts, and it's only a 2 kilowatt inverter, and actually when it, you know, talking continuous, it's more like 1600. So we overloaded. It took about 30 seconds and we overloaded the inverter shut off. No big deal. But then when I went to have a look at the battery system, it must have created like a dead short or something like that, because now when I go and look at the DCS app, it was reading 0, nil, nothing. I'm like, what's happened here? And even the cycle count seemed to reset itself, like it really had a fritz. And now I've been trying to charge it up. I actually thought I'd fritz the battery altogether because it's just 0, and when I put it on charge, nothing was happening. So I've already got the car pulling about, I don't know, 4 or 5 amps to the freezer, a couple of amps for the fridge running, and I've also got a Telstra cell-fire booster, which is, I don't know, another half an amp or so. So we're pulling 8 amps out of this, another almost 40 to the caravan. The DCS goes flat really quick. So within a few hours, that's down to like 20%. No biggie, just go for another drive, charge it up. Within, you know, an hour of driving, it's back to 100%. And I was like using my cycles up, going backwards and forwards, trying to get it up. But there's nothing I could do to get this over 20%, the van. And what was happening is, you know, I'd forget about things, have it connected up. First night, wake up in the morning, it's all connected still, car went flat. So the DC charger, the Projecta, as soon as it sees a terminal voltage of 12.8, it stops charging. So the Projecta charger did its job, but then with only 12.8 volts left in my DCS 80, which is not much at all for a lithium, the freezer killed it. First morning, dead battery. Sharon was not impressed. Turns out Sharon had planned to wash her hair and straighten it with a hair straighter, which was going to need 240 volts. And if she wasn't able to straighten her hair, that's like divorce in our house. So it's pretty important. One, I had to get the car running and get this battery thing sorted. First thing, connected up this 200 watt solar panel directly to the car. As soon as the sun pops up over this hill at sort of about 8 o'clock in the morning, it was pumping like 6 amps straight into the car, and it went from 10.4 volts up to 11.7 in about a half an hour. And with these patrols, the magical voltage you need to start one is 11.7 volts. Started the car, beauty. Not going to leave the cable connected the next night, and we'll be right. She can straighten her hair. Next night comes around, disconnected the cable, left about 50% probably, maybe a bit less in the battery overnight. But these lithiums, you've got to learn when you get a lithium, it's different to an AGM or any other battery, which has a very linear way that it discharges. Lithiums are inversely exponential, so it drops off really quick, and pretty much as soon as you get under 13 volts, it might as well be dead. It uses up that quite quickly. So I was at like 50% or whatever it was. Accidentally left the safari lights on, left the cell-fire thing on, the fridge and everything. So that equals about 8 amps. So 8 amps over, 10 hours overnight. I don't know if it works like this, but 80 amps. Anyway, killed the battery for a second night. Didn't tell Sharon. Very quickly got the solar panel out again, hooked it up to the car. 8 o'clock sun popped over that hill, 8:30, back up to 10.7. Boom, car started. We left for the tracks at 8:30. She never knew. And she doesn't watch my videos, so we'll be right there anyway. But we still have this problem, and we're going to start talking about solutions soon. And the few things I did do wrong, I did do right. You saw the battery protect I've got, the Victron battery protect I've got under the bonnet. Now that should save it. So whenever that gets to 12.8 volts, that should disconnect everything in the back. And it does, it absolutely does. What was happening though, is we mounted this on the bonnet, and this can't take the heat, and you can even see that it's bulging out the sides here. So this is the, and the hottest place in a Y62 engine bay is right here on this side. So this, I need to get another one and not put it in the engine bay. So I didn't have cold pies on this trip. I thought, I'll just bypass it. So I put both on the one pole, straight through. I've never had a flat battery in my life with a DCS 80. It's got infinite power. So yeah, it'll be fine. That's why the fridge freezer Self-I-Go was able to kill the battery. So if you're going to have a DCS 80, make sure you have a Victron smart disconnect that cuts out at 12.8 and make sure it's not under the engine bay. This is where the story starts to turn around a bit. And in your kit, when you're packing to go away, pack Anderson plugs. And when you're wiring up your car, van, everything, make every connection with Anderson plugs, because that truly saved the day. At the moment, I've got this, the big solar panel up there, the 330 watt, 48 volt connected. I've disconnected it because it was an Anderson plug up the top, disconnected that, and now it's going straight into the front of the van. Inside where it connected to the DC-DC, I've disconnected it because that was an Anderson plug and connected it into a spare solar regulator that I had, because to charge at 48 volts, you need a special regulator like a Victron, and I always bring a spare Victron solar regulator with me. So I'm not using the Projecta one because that's a 24 volt, 1224. Now I'm using my Victron, and because everything was Anderson plugs, I could adapt and get that to happen. And that was kicking in 17 amps yesterday afternoon into that battery. Plus there is a bit of solar on the roof, and there's this panel as well, which I could connect up. So we were pumping up and we got it up to like 25% yesterday. That saved the day. Take lots of double adapters. Just, if you don't need one, just go buy some, home and 12 volt, and just keep them up your sleeve. These 10 meter leads use 8mm cable, and that's got the least voltage drop. Just have a few spare. I've got 3 in my kit, a 3, 5 and 10 meter, and they have really saved the day. The next thing is apps. If you're going to buy any electrical thing in this day and age, make sure it has a Bluetooth app connected. So I can see at any point what each of my batteries are doing. I'll show you again. So this is the DCS 100 in the van. It's pulling 0.6 of an amp. This is my DCS 80. So quickly I can see what's happening I can sit in one spot and see everything. Go to the Victron apps. So there's a fair few Victron things happening around me. The smart shunt shows me what the back of my car is drawing, which should be not much, just the Self-I-Go, and one of the fridges must be running, so I can see what that's happening with the shunt. I can go to my inverter and see if that's inverting at the moment or not, and how much it's pulling. So it's turned on but drawing 0 at the moment, so that's fine. I can go to my solar controller. So the 150, the bottom one, that's the one in the caravan. That's my spare, because I can load it up if I wanted to. And that's connected directly to the car. It's overcast, so I'm getting 2.9 amps out of it. And then lastly, I've got another one in my car, which I've disconnected, so I shouldn't be doing anything. And it's not. For me to diagnose what is happening with all my electrical system, those apps are invaluable. Like, love apps anyway, but make sure if you're buying anything, have apps that come with it. So the other lesson out of this is my system, I just keep tacking on, and it's caused me dramas because I didn't just nail it to start with. Opposed to Brad here, like, his car's hooked up with, I think 200 amps of lithium. The van's got 400 amps of lithium. There's 500 watts of solar on the roof. It's a total off-grid solution, designed by, Auto Elect, or, the caravan company. Just don't say, oh, I'm going to do that later on. Just do it all when you buy the van. Just nail it, because he has 0 issues, and he's been testing his system too, because it's a new caravan for him, but that has performed stellar. One thing I do want to say is this DCS 80 Extreme has performed brilliantly. I've really tested it, punished it, and it saved the day with its ability to charge up quickly. So every time I flatten it, basically go for a drive, within an hour, 100% charge again. So it charges at like 120 amps initially, and then when it gets towards the top, maybe it drops down to, you know, it slowly drops down as it gets to the top. But its ability to be connected straight to the alternator and not a DC-DC charger, because DC-DCs have got limitations. They're either 40 amps or you get two of them, they're 80 amps. This is 120 amps straight off the alternator charging. You can't beat that. That's killer. For all the silliness that I've done and stuffing around with my convoluted way of charging the caravan battery and everything else electrical, and I must admit I am convoluted in everything I do in my life, the battery saved the day because it can charge so quickly. For me and for Sharon to straighten her hair later tonight, we're off to Renmark, Big 4 Renmark. So we're going to plug the van in, top up our water, hopefully it's get as many volts into that that caravan as possible, because then we're going off grid again for a few more days, and get everything like charged up. So moral of this story is don't do what Dave did, hashtag, and just, I don't know, get someone to design it and get it all right at the start. That's today's video. Next, probably won't be doing anything at Renmark on camera, but after that we're going to a place where in South Australia, it's all sand driving. It's probably the best sand driving that's not on a beach in SA. It's technical, you need high power, you need big tyres, low pressures. It's hard to get into. I've never been able to get our 62 group in there, but it's coming up on the next video. I'll see you then. Yeah.